Okay, good evening, everybody. Today is November 17th. It's on my watch. It's about 10 after 6, and we're going to be restarting opening our open session just for the information of the public. We did have a meeting that was called to order at 3:30 p.m. and the board met over at Tustin High School to look at some facility renovation issues. We were over there for about an hour, and then we came back to closed session. We're returning out of closed session right now, and all members are present. We've already adopted the agenda, and with that, we'd ask that we honor the flag by tonight's Pledge of Allegiance that will be led by Marissa Bonyaban. She's a senior at Beckman High School. Thank you.
Everyone please stand. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, for all.
All right. Thank you, Marissa. Appreciate that. And now we don't have nothing to report out of closed session, correct, Dr. Franklin? And so now we're going to move on to board recognition. All right, so we're going to be recognizing some students and staff and other folks today with respect to their achievements or service that they've given to the Tustin Unified School District. And we're going to be proud to honor this first group. I'm going to ask some folks to come up and be honored for winning the 2014 CIF Southern Section Girls Golf Championship. So when I call your name, please come on up. It's Che Lim Lee and Nadia Susanto, Cameron Lee, Hannah Lee, Human Lee, Priscilla Key, Sophia Rim, and again, Marissa Bondibond, and Coach Penn Bushong. And this again is the Beckman High girls golf team winning the 2014 CIF Southern Section Girls Golf Championship. Now, Che Lim Lee and Nadia Susanto, they're freshmen. Cameron Lee and Hannah Lee and Human Lee and Priscilla Key and Sophia Rim are all sophomores, correct? Okay, great. And then Marissa Bondyaban is the only senior. And so we want to wish you a great congratulations. This is an awesome achievement. To win CIF is something that very few people get to do in any type of sport or athletic endeavor. So congratulations, we're very proud of you. Thank you. Dr. Franklin is very 64 still. He probably golfs 5 times more than you, and he never gets as good a score as you get.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, smile. I'm going to take a few in case somebody blinks. One more. Thank you.
You any parents, come on up, please. Come on all the way to the front if you don't want to take a picture. Sure, come on up. Yeah, well, thank you very much again. That takes a lot of sacrifice, to go out. You can't just say I want to win something and then it happens. That's a lot of dedication and hard work, and I'm sure being at Beckman, they have to keep up good grades, so they have to push the envelope on all sides. So we really appreciate your effort. We're really proud of you. So with respect to the next matter, I'm going to ask Maggie Riza to come up. She's a teacher, I believe, at Foothill High School, right? Okay. And this is Maggie Riza, and she's our forensic and biology teacher at Foothill High School. And I think I remember when this class first started a few years ago. I think I met you when I think you first had this in the curriculum. And she teaches, again, forensics, at least as one of her classes. And she has graduated from the FBI Citizens Academy, the only educator in Orange County invited to participate in the highly selective program. The 10-week program was the first to take place in Orange County. Ms. Riza was selected through a nomination and application process, which was held by the Orange County and Los Angeles regional offices of the FBI. The 20 participants selected to participate in the academy represented individuals from a wide range of occupations, including lawyers, accountants, engineers, and leaders in pharmaceutical, computer, and security industries. Ms. Riza represented education. The program focuses on federal law enforcement and national security issues. Highlights include counterterrorism, counterintelligence, cybercrime, legal fraud, corruption, and critical incident response. Presentations were made by the FBI regional directors of Los Angeles and Orange County and the special agents in charge for each subspecialty area. The Citizens Academy members experienced demonstrations at multiple locations, including the Orange County Cyber Crime Lab, the FBI shooting range, and the SWAT range, and the Orange County Sheriff's indoor range. Ms. Riza has been teaching forensic science and biology as part of the science curriculum at Foothill for 10 years. She started the forensic program at Foothill. She's excited to bring the information she learned at the FBI Citizen Academy to her students and community, and looks forward to actively participating in the FBI Citizens Academy Alumni Association. Congratulations.
While the picture is being taken, I would take a point of personal privilege and thank Mrs. Riza because my daughter, Christy, was in her class in the year that ended in the spring of 2006, and now she's married to a police officer. There must be a connection, right?
She knows that it's not like that show Law and Order. You don't just wrap up a case in 45 minutes, right? It takes a little bit longer than that. So now we're honored to have Mr. Ed Hernandez, engineering and math teacher and director of the T-Tech Academy from Tustin High School. Please come forward, sir. He's being named the 2014 High Impact Teacher of the Year in Science, Math, and Technology by Project Tomorrow. Again, High Impact Teacher of the Year in Science, Math, and Technology by Project Tomorrow. Mr. Hernandez received the High Impact Teacher of the Year award at Project Tomorrow Innovation and Education Awards. The joint ceremony between Project Tomorrow and the Orange County Tech Alliance celebrated innovative use of science, math, and technology in the classroom and the community. Over 300 business and community leaders attended the event. Mr. Hernandez was recognized for his influence as a great teacher in the use of science, math, and technology to significantly impact student academic achievement. He received a $1,000 grant towards the Tustin High T-Tech Academy. Project Tomorrow, a national education nonprofit organization based in Irvine, supports the innovative uses of research-based science, math, and technology resources to develop critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity in K through 12 students. Mr. Hernandez, congratulations. As always.
Okay, here we go. And here.
He's right. I'd rather see it.
I was alluding to earlier that we were toured the Tustin campus, and one of the places was your digs there. And I'll just tell you, it's amazing at what he does. He's dealing with a facility at Tustin. Many of the buildings are rather old, and it reminded me of a very, very old place where all this modern equipment's inside the building, and it was a juxtaposition of items, really modern technology and an old building. We're going to try to get you a better building, okay? All right. Okay. Yep, I know. And I hear the Tustin TV programmers are in the back all screaming and yelling, yay, right? And they're going to... Okay, the following employee who is retiring will be recognized for her years of dedicated service and valuable contributions to the district. Jeanette Wingo, could you come forward, please? She's a translator. She has been with EL, which is Teaching English Learners. She was with the EL Center for 25 and a half years of service. 25 and a half, that's a big, big number. So Mrs. Wingo joined the district in 1989. She has worked as an instructional aide at Benson, Beswick, and Gwynn Foss Elementary Schools and Tustin Memorial Academy, an English Language Development Special Education Liaison at Gwynn Foss, the district office at Sycamore School, and bilingual testing technician at Sycamore. Since 2006, Mrs. Wingo has served as a translator at the EL Center. She's going to retire in December. Congratulations. Okay, now it's my privilege and pleasure to invite Debbie Ewing and Bob Machado with the Tustin Public Schools Foundation to please come forward with Jim and Claudia Looney for a special presentation.
Hi there. Before I can go and show you what we donate to the foundation, as chair of the Tustin Public Schools Foundation Grants Committee, I am pleased to announce grants for projects at Hughes Middle School in Arroyo, Tustin Ranch, and Nelson Elementary Schools. Students will benefit from reading programs, new display to show student work, and a monitor to share information in the Media Center. Our grant committee continues to review proposals and has an extra $500 for applications submitted before December 31st. That means that schools that submit applications before December 31st are can receive up to $3,000 per school. Debbie?
Thank you. And a big part of this donation that we're about to show you is from our friends Jim and Claudia Looney, standing just to my left. The Looneys are very generous donors to the foundation, and they're a great example of how families can make a difference. They made special donations to the foundation to support cultural arts and technology at Hicks Canyon Elementary School. They exemplify generosity and how to make a difference in the local community. Before Jim and Claudia say a few words, I'd also like to thank the community for participating in Dinosaur Dash a few weeks back. We don't have the final numbers, but we are proud to say we've made over 190,000, that much we know. And I neglected to mention we also had over 7,400 registered participants.
I get to announce it.
Yes.
All right. $20,025. Woohoo! This Tustin Unified School District. Fabulous. Well, I want to just say what a pleasure it is to support the Tustin Unified School District. You know, we have a privilege of having a really great school system, a public school system. We don't have to send our grandkids to a private school because the education is so good here. Jim and I are both recipients of public education in Fullerton, and our son is as well, and so we appreciate public education. And if our grandkids weren't were at a private school, we'd certainly be sending big bucks there. So it's the only thing that we should do, the small thing, is to come forward and support you all in what you're doing on behalf of all the children, and it's our pleasure to do so. And I just want to I should tell you that Jim and I have been fundraisers all of our life, so you're looking at about 45 years, 48 years each in fundraising. So we understand what's good fundraising, and Hicks Canyon principal sent us a thank you note. The PTA president sent us a thank you note. We got a stewardship report on how the funds were used. We loved it. We're going to make another gift next year.
I think my wife said it all, but we very much are products of public schools, first generation college students from the Fullerton district. We believe in public higher education, and that's the motivating factor, plus 2 grandkids.
So far.
So far.
The third one will be there later.
Third one later.
So we got lots of years of support coming up.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Looney, thank you very, very much. We really appreciate that kind of that sharing of your treasure. Really do. That's amazing. And so, you know, everybody who gets involved with Tustin Public School Foundation, they have such a good time because it really is about the people. There's such quality people who put in a lot of time and effort to stretch to make the community better and make the schools better. So we appreciate your contribution very much. Thank you.
Debbie, can your side go up just a bit? There we go. 1, 2, 3, and one more. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, and now moving on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Franklin.
Thank you, Mr. Laird. Good evening, members of the board, staff, and students, and community members. We're off to another great school year in 2014-15. I want to report on 2 things this evening. One that Debbie just mentioned, the Dino Dash. 7,400 runners, and there was about over 700, I think, volunteers. Just an incredible volunteer base to make that such a positive event. So the runners, the volunteers, the donors, the sponsors, a lot of people wrote checks for registrations for students who wouldn't otherwise have had an opportunity to run, which is a terrific way to support it. And then, of course, the people who were there in booths that were so much fun, the food and the games and so on. And it's just terrific that it raised money besides. So we certainly appreciate the money, but what a great event, whether or not you're connected to schools or Tustin Public Education at all. So thanks to TPSF. It really does demonstrate the commitment that the entire organization has to the school district, which we very much appreciate. I also want to just acknowledge the re-election of Mr. Lynn Davis and Mr. Jonathan Abelove to the TUSD board for another 4 years. And you can take a look at the results, but they certainly endorse the leadership of continuing on the continuity that has done so many great things in Tustin Unified Schools. And so on behalf of the staff, the administrative staff, as well as the classified and certificated, we're very proud that you guys will continue on in the leadership positions that you've served. And under your leadership, I think Mr. Abelov has served for 20 years. Is that accurate? That's accurate. And Mr. Davis, 12. And so you're starting your 4th term. Just incredible growth in the school district, both student achievement, the improvements to the facilities, the technology, the relationships with the community and the staff. Things are, I think, really at an all-time high, and it's this leadership team that is so tight and together on looking for the best things for students, and we appreciate that. So congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. So 20 years, that puts me at about, what, 15 when he was first running? Just kidding. Okay, so let's move on to the student reports, which we're eagerly awaiting. And the first one up, should I just go and do what I normally do and look at Bianca and start with her first? No, please stay seated. We're going another way now. Hanad Musa from Tustin High School. Let's hear for him.
I've heard this mic is risky, but good evening, President Laird, members of the board, Superintendent Franklin, district staff, and members of the audience. Since our last meeting in October, Tustin High School has been relatively eventful. We had our homecoming festivities in which we started with the homecoming assembly, in which we crowned our we crowned our homecoming king, Brad Donahue, and we would later on to have the homecoming game, and luckily we won against Pacifica, and we crowned our queen, Christina Kusick, and which was followed by a wonderfully planned homecoming dance. And THS band placed first in 2 competitions that they had, and then second in another one. And one of those first place wins was actually just this weekend, so we're very proud of them. And Tustin High was represented at the Tustin Art Walk by the THS Visual Arts Department, which showcased their Blink 5 display. And we're proud of them because they were the only, we were the only high school that was represented at the event. And we had our College and Career Readiness Day, in which students chose to visit one of 3 schools, being Irvine Valley College, Cal State Fullerton, as well as UCI. And we also facilitated College Night by holding an event at THS, and it was hosted by Beckman, and it was a well-attended evening. We also experienced success in sports as our football team, track, cross country, I should say, and our water polo teams all qualified for CIF, and our football team, sadly, despite a wonderful fight, lost in the first round, and water polo team lost in the second round after making it past the first round. We congratulated our Kiwanis Young Man of the Month, Shikhar Gupta, Seroptimus Young Woman of the Month, Nancy Palmer, and Tustin Area Woman Club Young Woman of the Month, Hypatia, and they're very striking individuals, and we're proud of them. And Tustin High looks forward to the upcoming winter sports season as we go, as the teams prepare to go full force into the seasons. And we're also hosting our annual Model United Nations Conference this weekend from the 22nd to the 23rd, where we'll have over 1,500 students visiting, and from 30 schools, and we're also going to be having kids from the Czech Republic come over, and we really look forward to this event because the kids are really passionate about the subject, and it's in such a formal environment, and I think that it really encourages their improvement. We've also sent out invitations to the board to attend our opening ceremonies at 8:30, and we even have my associate, Amol Singhal, and he is the Director General of Communications, and he will be able to answer interview questions, and he's a very helpful guy. I guess that's why he's the Director General of the Communications. And that's it for us. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Musa. Appreciate that. And now Amber Lopez from Hillview High School. Thank you, Amber.
Good evening, President Laird, members of the board, Superintendent Franklin, district staff, and members of the audience. Thanks to the support of the students and staff, Hillview and the Red Cross teamed up for a very successful blood drive. Each donation saves 3 lives, and we donated enough blood to save 105 lives. Last Friday, the entire senior class went on a tour to Cal State Fullerton's campus and learned about the various programs offered. Last month, we visited IVC and are planning to visit Orange Coast and Santiago Canyon in January. One of Hillview's best opportunities for students is our job shadowing program. Each quarter, students have the opportunity to spend a portion of the day exploring a career. First quarter, students experience cosmetology, auto mechanics, and culinary arts. The occupations slated for the next quarter are police, childcare, and nursing. This Thursday, students with perfect attendance will be going bowling and treated to lunch. The seniors with perfect attendance are in contention to win the car from Tustin Toyota. On behalf of Hillview, Mr. O.D. wants to thank the Kiwanis Club, Rotary Club, and Seroptimus Club for recognizing our students at various award programs. Giacomo Hennigan was recently honored by the Rotary Club as Young Man of the Quarter, and Andrea Rodriguez was recognized by the Seroptimus as Young Woman of the Quarter. That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Appreciate the report from Hillview. And now I'm going to call up Kashani Hathatugama from Foothill High School, their student representative.
Good evening, President Laird, members of the board, Superintendent Franklin, district staff, and members of the audience. It is my pleasure tonight to present to you the Foothill High School report for the month of November. This month marks a busy time for our band and choir groups, who continue to go above and beyond in their competitions and performances. From November 4th to the 5th, Advanced Women's and Magicals choirs performed in the Concordia Choir Festival. Then the following weekend, once again in the Fullerton College Festival. Choir director Mrs. Dane also led her bass choir to a stunning performance at Cal State Fullerton. Later this month, the choir will be performing as Dickens carolers in the Enderley Center to spread a holiday cheer. They practice diligently to perfect their carols for the community to enjoy. Band competed in 2 competitions this month against high-rated school bands. In the La Palma Parade, Color Guard earned 5th place and Marching Band won 4th against top-ranked schools. We would like to congratulate Emmett Strozenski, Foothill's Mace drum major, for winning 1st overall, a huge honor. Additionally, band earned exclusive entrance into the prestigious Arcadia Invitational last weekend, November 15th to the 16th. Foothill has not been invited to participate for over 30 years. Once again, Emmett Strozenski amazed us, ranking 2nd out of 17 of the top drum majors in California. The Foothill Band is guaranteed another invitation next year, under the guidance of Director Tim Thomas. November also marks the start of senior projects in our engineering program. These range from building a new electric car, constructing Foothill's first go-kart for a dirt track, and creating small solar pathway lights to illuminate the track. The students' continued restoration of their 1929 Ford Roadster caught the attention of Henry Ford III, great-grandson of Henry Ford, who visited our engineering department to admire their work this Saturday, November 15th. Sports teams this month have also demonstrated great Foothill pride and success, as most fall sports ended their seasons. Congratulations to girls tennis and boys and girls cross country for memorable seasons laced with fierce competition. Our girls volleyball team advanced to CIF this year, and from girls golf, Maddie Chu advanced all the way to Southern California Championships. Boys water polo and football are well into CIF, both advancing to semifinals and preparing for games this week. Water polo had an exceptional season, winning first in league and ranking first in CIF before their game this Wednesday at Irvine High. Football advanced to CIF playoffs for the 13th time in 15 seasons under Coach Case. Friday's game ended in victory over Woodbridge, 22-3, sending waves of excitement and anticipation throughout school for the game against St. Clemente this Friday at Northrop Stadium. Foothill was proud to acknowledge all collegiate athletes on National Signing Day, November 12th, and plans a large celebration for those college-bound student athletes this spring. On campus, our Advanced Theater Arts class premieres the production of their comedic play, Check Please, this Thursday, November 20th. They are also showcasing their talent throughout this Friday, November 21st, free to all students. This concludes the Foothill High School report for November. Thank you for your time. Go Knights.
Thank you, Ms. Hathatugama. And now, Bianca Lacavera. Yes, you can get up now. From Beckman High School, their student representative. Thanks for your patience tonight, Bianca.
Thank you. All right. Good evening, President Laird, members of the board, Superintendent Franklin, district staff, and members of the audience. With the school year in full swing, Beckman students have been busily immersed with their extracurricular activities, academics, and for the seniors, college applications. On October 15th, Beckman held its first annual College Day. Seniors were given the opportunity to attend a variety of workshops of their choosing. These workshops included information on financial aid, the UC application, NCAA, art school, and much more. Also, just a couple weeks ago, on the night of November 3rd, Beckman hosted the annual College and Career Fair, which took place at Tustin High School. Thanks to the collaboration between Beckman and Tustin, the fair was a huge success. Students were able to prepare for their post-high school futures by either talking with representatives from a multitude of colleges or by learning about potential career options from professionals. As the seniors start to think about the end of their high school lives, they are also approaching the responsibilities of adulthood. Included in these responsibilities is the privilege to vote. On October 14th, the Youth Action Team held an on-campus voter registration. More than 100 students, 17 years and older, came out to register. Meanwhile, the very talented musicians at Beckman debuted their skills with an instrumental music Veterans Day concert and are now preparing for their winter concert, which will take place on December 4th. As for our athletes, 5 Beckman students signed their national letters of intent on November 12th. Brett Robinson signed to University of Wisconsin-Madison for golf, Nikki Dario to Harvard University for water polo, Christy Wong to Fairleigh Dickinson University for volleyball, Claire Duchesne to the College of William and Mary for lacrosse, and Marissa Bon to Cal State San Marco for golf. I'd also like to mention girls golf CIF champions who we honored earlier tonight. Last Friday, the Beckman boys basketball hosted a kickoff for their season. All students were invited into the gym for pizza, t-shirts, and to learn a bunch of Beckmaniac cheers to get everyone pumped up for the basketball season. Yeah, a lot of people came. It was free pizza and free shirts, so you could count on high schools for that. And a couple weekends ago, Beckman students were given a nice break from the stresses of school with the homecoming football game and dance, both with the Marvel Comics theme. Held outside under the clock tower, more than 850 students attended the marvelous dance. There, David Hahn was crowned homecoming king, and at the game, Jennifer McCleary was crowned queen. In addition to the fun of homecoming, the students enjoyed a 4-day weekend, including Veterans Day, in which we were able to honor and thank all who served in the United States Armed Forces. Meanwhile, the season of giving has taken root at Beckman. A few weeks ago, students donated money to the UNICEF Club to raise funds for less fortunate children in third world countries. And for the rest of November, Beckman will be participating in a school-wide canned food drive through the Orange County Great Park. In conclusion, the school year has given Beckman students their fair share of the 4 A's: academics, athletics, arts, and activities. Thank you all for your time. Go Patriots.
Thank you, Ms. Lacavera. Appreciate it. And now we started with Tustin. We're going to end with Tustin, the student board member representative representing the board tonight, as well as attending Tustin High School's Amanda Wynn. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. Good evening, President Laird, members of the board, Superintendent Franklin, district staff, and members of the audience. Tonight, it is my pleasure to inform you of all the generous acts of giving demonstrated by our schools throughout the month of November. With Thanksgiving quickly approaching, Tustin Unified's very own are finding ways to give back to the community. Students from Tustin Memorial Academy and Nelson Elementary are participating in the Team Kids Challenge, in which each week the students will perform a different service to benefit the community. So far, they have already collected multiple barrels of Halloween candy to send to troops, as well as generous numbers of blankets to donate to local animal shelters. Red Hill, Peters Canyon, and Ladera Elementary students are all taking part of Operation Gratitude Candy Drive to collect bins upon bins of candies and letters to send to troops away from home. When it comes to giving back, every penny counts, and Estock Elementary is doing a great job of showing that, with their participation in the Penny Surpasses coin drive that will raise funds for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Societies. As the cold winter season approaches, students at Ladera are collecting socks for their annual Socktober drive to give to the less fortunate at the OC Rescue Mission. Meanwhile, at Myford, students are collecting school supplies to provide for low-income students in the district. Over at Columbus Tustin Middle School, Peer Assistance Leadership, or PAL, spearheaded the school's Trick or Treat for UNICEF campaign, in which they raised over $1,600 that will be put towards providing water to needy villages. Curry Middle School student leaders have taken it upon themselves to read to and play with kids at the OC Rescue Mission. These students are also taking it a step further and holding their annual Penny Wars coin drive to raise funds that will be put towards Thanksgiving meals at the mission. After a Category 3 tropical storm devastated Cabo San Lucas this past September, students at Hughes Middle School are collecting donations to restore and support the locals to the best of their abilities. A little ways up the road, Foothill High recently ran a blood drive in which many students generously donated to save lives. Throughout the month of November, the students are holding their annual canned food drive to stock the pantries of the families who benefit from the Second Harvest Food Bank just in time for Thanksgiving. During the past few weeks, Tustin High has been collecting food items and cans for our annual Tiller Joe's food drive to help local families and students in need. As the inspiration for the name of the food drive, our local Trader Joe's has donated dozens of brown paper bags in order for us to collect all of our goods. Lastly, coming up on December 11th, Tustin High will be hosting another blood drive just in time for the holiday season. Thanksgiving is a time we give back to those who need our help. I am proud to say that the Tustin Unified School District has gone above and beyond in its service to the community. To all of the schools and students who are giving back to the community, thank you, and I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. Appreciate it. Before we take a recess, Mr. Davis would like to address the students.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. I think it's great that you guys had the voter registration drive at Beckman High School. That I particularly wanted to thank Hanad and mention a couple things. He was one of 25 to 30 Tustin High School students who chose to volunteer in my campaign as part of a program where they had an option of volunteering in many, many different campaigns. And I want you to know, I was getting stopped by people who said, "Hey, I just got a phone message on my message machine last night from a Tustin High student, and it was a really great message." And I had other people say, "Oh, we had Tustin High School students come to our front door and talk to us about your campaign and how things are going at Tustin High." And I think it's important to note, and a really positive thing for all our high school students to see that the more our community has the opportunity to engage with and meet with our high school students, the more impressed they are by our students and by everything that our teachers have done to prepare them. And it was. I just got so many positive remarks about that I couldn't let it go by the opportunity to mention that and to thank all the students who were involved in the very positive way in which they comported themselves in working for whichever candidate they were supporting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and so at this point, we'll take a short recess for anybody who would like to leave the chamber at this point, including the student representatives, if you wish. And thank you very much for your reports. Very informative and very persuasive. Thank you.
job, my friend. Nice job. Congratulations. Good luck on the MUN event. Thank you. Go get them. Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you for your report
You guys did
tonight,
great.
everybody. You don't mind if I was joking around with
Man,
you.
he's rough. I thought it was a game show for there, but like, okay.
And yeah, you're very, very good. Speaking from a lot of memory, that's awesome. That's very good. Very good. Very good. It's really nice. Good report.
You did very well.
You tell, I used to play baseball with Mr. O'Donoghue. Tell him I said hello again.
So many people have said that.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually, some of them get coached by him, but I actually played with him. I played with him. Yeah, I played with him.
Now you have to stay for a little bit.
That's so good. Tell him I said hello, though.
Hey, Mr.
Good seeing you again. How's it going?
Good. How's
Good.
it going for you? Did you receive this good flow?
I'm sure it came in this thing. Was it mailed to me or was it sent to the district? Was it sent to me at the house?
Yeah.
For Model UN for the.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's this Saturday. It's gonna be from 8:30.
At 8:30, I'm gonna try. I will try my very best. I will RSVP. Okay.
Okay.
Should I email you or?
Yeah. It's on the paper, but if you want me to write it down, that'd be best.
Let's just do that.
Okay.
Actually, let me get a piece of paper.
Because it's like a tradition.
Don't scare me up there.
We really love you guys coming.
He likes to live on the edge. Edgy guy.
Thank you so much.
But you did. You guys all did. We'll see you guys next time. Okay.
Like, I like sitting up there because I like it. It's interesting. Mine was interesting, kind of. Like, mine was about, like,
Oh, okay. I probably have it.
I was like, oh, no, you should go. No, we're talking about that.
So then we can put you out like
Yeah, I've been there before.
Oh, okay. I was feeling kind of nervous after my.
Sure, you guys hear that lot, so about that too. But what you guys need to do, as far as is whenever you're going to have somebody else have an event for you, you need to tell them, you need to give them examples of the kinds of foods to have that have a variety to make sure that everybody will. Because we didn't know what to have, and so that was the only kind of bad part is we didn't have enough food for people from the number of people who came who were Hindu or Muslim or some other tradition, right? They didn't want to have pepperoni pizza or right. And we could have had other pizza. We could have had beef or
You too.
All right, I'll see you Saturday. Right. We just didn't know to do it. So.
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
It's like an exchange student from
Denmark,
and he's a really cool guy. Yeah, I think it was the foothill. Our students come Wednesday, and then we go to Disneyland on Thursday. I guess Sabrina? Do you know Sabrina? Huh? She's like our honorary member. She's coming to help out for the conference. Yeah. Did you go to TMA? No. Guys, I don't know what that is. And you went to see it, right?
Yeah.
It's Sean, right?
Yeah.
Most people. I gotta tell you that. I'm sorry. All right. Ooh, take care.
All right. Thank you for staying for the students' comments and their presentations. I always appreciate when the audience stays for that. So thank you very much for doing that. And we're going to move on to TUSD Connect Bright Spots. We have a presentation from some of our staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Laird. I wanted to introduce Maggie Villegas, who is going to lead the presentation on the elementary music program. Maggie?
Good evening, President Laird, members of the board, Superintendent Franklin, members of cabinet, and the audience. We are thrilled to be featuring our elementary music education program as tonight's bright spot. This exciting new program is in its 11th week of implementation in all of our 4th and 5th grade classrooms. Tonight, we wanted to take a moment to introduce you to the heart and the soul of the program, our dedicated music specialists, Janine Flores, Victoria Cope, Katarina Giesler, Walter Wagner, and Elisa Bohm. It has been such a pleasure observing our music teachers in action across the district and watching students enthusiastically experiencing the 3 exploratory wheel classes, which include music theory, vocal music, recorders for 4th graders, and strings for all 5th graders. Students are absolutely engaged in the standards-based music instruction and are eagerly learning and growing in their skills and appreciation of music. Our 4th and 5th grade teachers are also effectively utilizing this additional weekly planning time to collaborate and improve their signature practices. Stephanie Yang has worked tirelessly to create this program and continues to collaborate with our teachers weekly to reflect and refine all components of the program. She will now take you more in depth into the program.
Yeah. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to share about our new music program. It is an honor to present this as a bright spot this evening. Last spring when we started launching the development of our program, through research and collaboration, it was clear that we needed to design a program that blended traditional music study with the incorporation of 21st century skills, technology, and an engaging curriculum that would ignite student interest in the discipline of music. As a team, we work in partnership to bring the vision to life for our students. Every week, our team engages over 1,700 4th graders and over 1,900 5th graders in music ed, and we also visit 19 schools and provide 105 weekly classes. It's a very powerful opportunity for our students, so we all know that our vision and purpose, our communication efforts, and our curriculum design have to be on spot and exemplary model. I would like to share with you one of the ways that we communicate as a team and with our students and our teachers across the district. Our haiku page, our haiku page shares with all of our students and teachers who are stakeholders in the program about our vision and provides access to the weekly lessons that students have exposure to. For example, on the left side, you'll see that each of our courses are defined, and if we drop down, all 11 weeks of the courses, along with the daily curriculum, is provided for students to have constant access to. One area that I really want to highlight today would be our scaffold overlay, which is the framework of our instructional program. What we have done is defined key skills and concepts that are spiraled through the 11 weeks and through each of our courses. So through the duration of the year, students are applying these same skills and concepts to different genres within music to develop a depth of understanding. Right now, I'd like to have Vicki Cope come up and share how this framework comes to life in our daily instruction.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to start by thanking Tustin Public Schools Foundation, Tustin Unified School District, and all of the community organizations who have supported the launch of this music program. It is so special and wonderful to be a part of it. I'd also like to thank Stephanie and Maggie for all of their support and their tireless hours helping us launch this program. Now, you might be wondering how we keep all these kids actively engaged for an hour in music every week. It all starts with the framework, which is the starting point for any good lesson plan. Our team has developed a routine that can be seen in any one of our classes. Each lesson includes a warm-up, a lesson, and a wrap-up. We begin our warm-up with our featured composer of the week, with music examples from the Music Me curriculum. This curriculum has been used in TUSD before and was brought to our attention by the Town and Country Philharmonic Organization. The students are given background knowledge about the composer and a prompt before listening to the featured composition to encourage creative and critical thinking each week. After our opening, we quickly review the previous lesson before introducing the topic for the current week. This helps our students retain the knowledge, as well as gives them an opportunity to ask questions that occurred to them after our lesson was over or maybe were unanswered the week before. As we transition from past to present, we refer to the vocabulary and main ideas that will be addressed in the current lesson to prepare students for the learning of the day. As students rotate through vocal, instrumental, and theory and technology classes, they discover the common vocabulary between the different subjects. In each lesson, teachers begin by modeling a skill or technique that's going to be learned that day. Then they give students the opportunity to try or practice that skill with support, followed by allowing the students to demonstrate the skill or technique on their own. Finally, students reflect upon their learning and apply it to other areas of learning. Each part of our lesson is carefully crafted by team members to incorporate technology, such as haiku, smart notebook, iPad apps, and music websites. This addresses the needs of all learners, including oral learners, visual learners, and kinesthetic learners. I really enjoyed teaching that kinesthetic lesson, by the way. It was like a Twister gone wrong. As you can see from these examples of our extreme music project and round writing projects, students are challenged to work collaboratively, creatively, and to use critical thinking in almost every lesson we teach. Just when you think there couldn't be any more we can do in a lesson, students are asked to answer essential questions, like what do you need to make a good round, or can any song be sung in a round? Will they all sound good? These questions get the students to not just think, but to learn by digging deeper under the surface of what they're learning. Finally, we check for understanding. Before leaving, each student is asked to take a Kahoot quiz or have an exit ticket question. We use Google Forms, informal assessments, and haiku quizzes to make sure that all students are learning at a high level of understanding. Using this format, we are ensuring that all students are learning music for the 21st century. Now let's take a look at an example of our classroom experience and teacher and student reactions.
My favorite part about music is when everybody sings together, and because the melody sounds very good, and our music teacher is super nice. It's fun learning about music because we get to learn about the old times, and today we were singing the songs, some of the songs that we were singing back then. Music is when we get to compose music, like last time where we were doing it like a group.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That was my fault. I was trying to make it bigger.
Yeah, that's as big as it gets. You need me to fast forward it? Sorry.
We get to learn about the old times, and today we were singing the songs, some of the songs that we were singing back then. Music is when we get to compose music, like last time where we were doing it like a group, and we had two ideas that were really good and they fit in our music thing. We ended up composing, putting them together to make one song.
Music makes us feel alive. Yes, it does. And that's why we wrote a song about it. First, we came up with a way to incorporate the rhythm of a song with that exact sentence. And then we added some solfege to it and it became a song. Ready? Alright, here it goes. Music makes us feel alive, oh yeah. That's fun.
Chesick. I'm a fourth grade teacher at Myford Elementary. I'd like to speak about the music program that was started this year. It's outstanding. The teachers come so prepared. The children, once they are in those classes, I can hear them engaged in 1 minute from the class starting. That's amazing. They are enthusiastic. They are engaged. They are enthusiastic when they come back to class about it. They're learning to read music. They're learning about music appreciation. I'm thrilled with it. That's the kids' side. The teacher side, it's very powerful that I have an hour weekly to plan. It's regular. I can count on it. It doesn't impact the day like the full day planning used to in the past. I love this plan, this program. I'm very grateful to Tustin for setting this up. It's made a big positive improvement in our fourth and fifth grade planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Were there any questions?
I just want to say thank you so very much for making our music program what it is. We did without for a very, very long time. We are all thrilled that we could bring music back. We all know what the research says about music and education and the connections it makes in the brains, specifically math and music and higher learning in music. So thank you. This is incredibly dynamic, more than I ever thought we were doing in music. This is amazing, and it was nice to hear from the students' perspective, from yours as well, but also from the teacher and the time that she's enjoying once a week getting to do her planning. So thank you for making it everything that it is. It's amazing.
Is this video in such a format that we could show it? We could get it and show it? I'm working with a Pacific Chorale group, and I'd actually like to show it to them. I just wanted to say thank you to Kathy Nielsen, who in the miserable days when we were cutting music assured me that she could bring it back and make it even better. And I'm extremely impressed. And thank you, all of you.
I agree. I think, through crisis, there's a little bit of a reform that took place. I think a lot of people were dissatisfied with the design. Some people were dissatisfied with the design of it before we had to get rid of it because of the recession, and it's come back very strong. It looks like an outstanding program. It really synergizes a bunch of things together, a lot of disciplines to really keep the kids' attention for a whole hour, especially the technology, obviously, some of that. So I think it looks really good. You did a great job. Anything else?
Yeah, I hope this is old news for many of you, but in January, the National Association of Music Merchants, otherwise known as NAM, has their thing in Anaheim, and they have the Music Education Days Saturday. You guys all go, right? Yeah, it's been great. I got to see Victor Wooten, one of the nation's most famous bass guitarists, one year, and the Canadian Brass came another year, and they really have some pretty insightful things to suggest that be tried in the area of music education. Definitely worthwhile. So I'll make sure everybody has it. I'll send, when I get the note about how to sign up, I'll send it to Maggie and she can make sure everybody has it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Now, we're going to call for the presentation, Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium.
Right. So we wanted to bring the board up to date on the new assessments for the state. So I have asked Sharon to assist in this presentation. Let's get it up here and running. So we wanted to give you an overview. And the first slide, we'll go ahead and begin. Begins with the new name. Instead of the STAR program, we now have the CASP program.
Oh, good.
I know. This is a little less of a bright spot, but needs to be shared nonetheless. So the the 1415 CASP system. 1415 is the first year of the new system. It has two components. One is the online Smarter Balance component, which will affect grades 3 through 8 and grade 11 in both English Language Arts and math. I think it's important to note that the grade 11 is a summative test, so it has pieces that are cumulative and integrated for all of their educational experience. And then there still are some paper pencil portions in science in grades 5, 8, and 10, and they're doing some field testing of alternative assessments, much like we have had in the past for special ed and other EL groups. So Smarter Balance, we're going to start with talking mostly about those today and just share with the board some of the differences. We start with who are tested. Again, as I mentioned, grade 3 through 8 and 11. All students are required to take the Smarter Balance assessments. There are some exceptions to this. Students with disabilities can take the alternative assessments in English Language Arts and math. And then new this year, English learners who have been enrolled in a school less than 12 months will take the English Language Arts only. And it used to be that no matter when they came, they took the assessment. So we think that's an improvement. I've asked Sharon to go ahead and share a little bit more and give some details of the types of questioning. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Cordes.
Good evening. I was going to prepare a dance routine for you so that we could be exciting as exciting as the music, but sorry, this is a little drab. The Smarter Balanced includes computer adaptive test items, classroom activity, and performance of task. And a computer adaptive test item is customized for each student. During the test, the difficulty of the questions change depending on the student's answers. So in this way, the adaptive tests provide more precise information regarding students and their performance, and it requires less time testing because they don't need to take as many test items as the computer adapts to really hone in on what the student's ability level is. Then there's a classroom activity part of the test that teachers are given a specific lesson in ELA and in math, and that lesson is given to the entire class. The lesson includes pre-activities that teach students the vocabulary. That's going to be included in the performance task. So it's like a pre-test or a pre-lesson before the students actually take the performance task of Smarter Balanced. And then this performance task is in English Language Arts and math, and all students take both this year. And that's a more extended type of problem that students will solve mathematically, and more extended writing and reading piece for the English Language Arts. The length of testing is about the same as with our paper pencil testing and STAR. For grades 3 through 5, about 7 hours of testing, and grades 6 through 8, about 7.5 hours, and grade 11, about 8.5 hours. There is no cap on the amount of time that students can spend taking the test, and that is the same as with STAR. There was no limit on number of minutes that students could take to complete the test. But again, it's very similar to what we had with STAR testing. Our testing windows are a little bit different with CASP testing, which testing directors called the GASP tests. For grades 3 through 5, it's a 12-week window beginning at the 121st instructional day. That's the same for grades 6 through 8. And grade 11, it begins with the 144th instructional day. We are narrowing that window for our schools, and our actual window for grades 3 through 5 and 6 through 8 is April 13th through May 22nd. And then for grade 11, they're starting April 29th through June 3rd. Most of our high schools will likely assess after their AP tests are over, and those typically run the first 2 to 3 weeks of school, including makeups, or I'm sorry, of May, including makeups. And again, that's just grade 11, so we believe that we can test every student within that time frame. Okay, so what is going to happen with the results is the Smarter Balanced online assessments, once a student finishes the test, because it is computer adaptive, the state gets a preliminary score right away, and then our scores are set, they're promising us the scores will be available within about 3 weeks of when we take the assessments. So they may be available by the end of June. And then the complete results, which would include the performance task, which takes a lot longer to score because it is students are writing into the system, and it has to be scored by someone's eyes. Those will be back in late August, just like we had with STAR, or at least that's what they're telling us. This year, the paper pencil assessments that were given in science came back very late. We didn't get them until later, I think it was in October. And in the past, we've always had them at the end of August. So we're hoping that those results are going to come in earlier this year. And the only thing that I could figure out with all of that, although it wasn't stated, is that new score reports were designed for parents, and I'm thinking that probably took longer because the English language arts and math was no longer on that report that was mailed to parents. It was just a report for science this year. Okay, so when we did our field test for Smarter Balanced, there were only 4 item types that would be available on the test that students were experiencing. So we could predict pretty well and help students learn how to answer those item types. Those item types are being expanded for the actual Smarter Balanced testing this spring. So the item types will include multiple choice, single correct response, which is a traditional item type. It's just an item with 4 answer choices or 5 answer choices, and the student selects one. The item type gets more difficult when it becomes a multiple choice, multiple correct response, because then the student needs to select all of the items, choices that are possible answers. And unlike when we were all in school and one of the choices might have been A and B or B and C, the students don't get that type of prompt. So they just have to answer and figure out from the 4 or 5 item choices which ones are correct. So that type of item takes a lot longer to answer because they have to work out every problem and every answer and check and see if each one of them matches and is correct before they make their choices. Another type of item is called an evidence-based selected response, so they have to select a response and provide evidence. There's a short text constructed response. In our field testing, that short text constructed response was 2 to 3 sentences that the student would key into the online test. The test developers have realized that that type of item is very costly to score because it has to be scored by someone's eyes. And so that's being reduced to just a 1 word or 1 number answer. So it will no longer be what we used to call a short constructed response. There's hot text, and that's where a student actually selects on the screen the sentence or a word or words that answer the question. So it is within a paragraph, and the student would highlight a sentence. There are matching tables, and then there's the full written response with a constructed response, and that's available within the writing standards. So this is an example of a hot text item. It's for English language arts. And this item is of medium difficulty, requires Bloom's taxonomy skill of analyzing. The depth of knowledge level is 2, which is skills and concepts, and the item's focus is writing effectively. So in this item, the readers to select those 2 sentences that could be removed without affecting the clarity and organization of the text.
Recipes for popular foods.
Okay, so this is a much more complex type of item, test item to answer than your straightforward, what's the main idea? It requires some more thinking and reading and analyzing, and that's why we're really working with our teachers to help them work with students so that they have exposure to this type of test item and that type of teaching in their daily lessons. And then there are several item types for math. Again, that multiple choice single correct, the multiple choice multiple correct. There are equations, fill-in tables, something called drag and drop, short text, graphing, something called hotspot, where they actually touch the item on the screen or use a pointer to touch the item on the screen that is correct, and then an interactive graphing.
This is mad.
So for grade 6, this is an example of a drag and drop item. So the student is supposed to use the items in the bottom that are shaded and move them up to what is equal to 5.42 and what is not equal to 5.42. Okay. So in helping us prepare, we're teaming with a company called Key Data Systems. They specialize in understanding testing, writing test items, helping school districts kind of unpack the standards. And so what they're helping us with is understanding for the types of standards that our students are going to be tested on, what the depth of knowledge levels are for those standards and how they will be tested, how many minutes it will take to analyze or to answer a question based on that specific standard, and then what kinds of item types the students will need to be able to answer to address that standard.
Giving this test to 11th graders is like...
So this is an example of, let's say, reading and literacy, the types of targets that are involved, what the depth of knowledge is, and then how those skills will be assessed. And with that, I'm going to turn this back to Kathy.
Thank you. So Key Data Systems are helping the district to create checkpoints or benchmark exams. And you can imagine this is not an easy process. It's difficult on several levels. I think the first one is that this is the first time, particularly in our high schools, that we are collecting benchmark data. We really want our kids to have some experience with these kinds of questions and with the new standards for instructional purposes. We've asked teachers not to use them in grading or anything, especially for a few years, but just to familiarize both the teachers and students what they're going to be held accountable for, what types of questions. The other, while we had teacher teams in, we had over 300 teachers last year come in through different committee work to help us put together the pacing guides, the frameworks, and select the when information should be taught at what time in the year. we're finding that as the teachers get more familiar with the Common Core and are learning and understanding about this testing, it's frustrating. So we are revising again. We've had our first round with checkpoints. We also are challenged because we had a window for checkpoints to be administered electronically online. We did that in piloting last year, but now we have them all, and we had some internet challenges. So as we work out these bugs, there's a frustration that we just wanted to kind of be transparent with the board about, that we're working this through. So imagine you're a teacher, a math teacher, for example, and we've given the math checkpoints and we're doing hot spot drop type questions, and they say that is not how we want to assess that learning. We want it to be assessed in a different way. Well, the point is to give the kids practice with the way it's going to be assessed in the spring. So it's been hard to kind of communicate all of that. So we're working through all of that, and we have some incredible math teacher leaders that we are bringing back again, and this will be the third time, to help tweak and revise and communicate. We're also looking into bringing some more professional development in. It's the most difficult transition for our math teachers, I think. And so we want to just give all the support and scaffolding that is possible as we go through this. But again, it's challenging. Today that's okay, let's go forward. The state has made available a digital library that has materials and different resources for teachers to use, and sample questions as well. We have our digital learning coaches and all of our instructional TOSAs reviewing this, and then we wanted to kind of review the quality of this before we pull it out to all teachers. Our teachers are also dealing with so much right now that we didn't want to add just yet another layer on top. So we wanted to kind of find the most valuable pieces of this and we'll give everybody access, but we want to direct them so that it's not overwhelming. And then the last piece is kind of, what does the future hold? So we are told that the testing will expand in the future, although we haven't heard a lot of details. Let's get through math and English language arts before we start weighing in on this. But just last Friday night, the cut scores were approved, and an article came out in Education Week just late this afternoon. It was posted online that talks about these cut scores. And what we know for sure through this article is that the bar has certainly been raised, that we can anticipate the cut scores are a lot closer to the NAEP, the NAEP testing, which we expected. Over time, we know students will get better, but we can expect they're estimating about 35% of students in math will be proficient based on the piloting that was done last year, and about 42% of students will be proficient in English language arts. Those are numbers that in Tustin we're not used to seeing in any way, and so it's also going to cause a little bit of unrest because teachers take a lot of pride in what they do. We all take a lot of pride in what we do, and we're going to have to work hard to message this to our community and to let people know that we are measuring and assessing different things than we ever have before, so that it will be difficult to compare one year's score to the next. There's a lot of work going on in Sacramento about API scores, and it's tentative. We're hearing, I think AXA is lobbying for another suspended year while we have our first year and kind of under our belt. So we don't know the outcome of that, and we'll keep the board apprised as we learn more about that. But I think, safe to say we're in new waters, and we're testing things we've never tested before. I'd rather be in Tustin than anywhere else. Our teachers are incredible. They're dedicated. They've embraced the new standards, and they're working hard to make them work for children. And I think we'll move forward in the spring once we know what we know. So I'm open for any questions you might have. Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah, I just want to say I think it's absolutely essential that we be very public and direct with teachers and parents and the community that while the Common Core standards are a superior set of standards on balance than the ones we've had before, the Achilles heel of the whole process is this assessment process, in part because specifically the things that make it better are so hard to measure by any standard way of testing. And I think we should expect, we're going to have teachers who are going to say this, look, I want to teach critical thinking. I don't want to spend my time bringing kids from this side of the cut score to that side of the cut score. I want to teach the content. And I think it's important that we make it clear that what we expect to happen, that the testing is the weak spot, that even very conservative groups like the Fordham Foundation, that is anti teacher tenure, that is pro accountability, that is pro Common Core, says the tests are not ready for prime time. They are not ready to be used for any meaningful, high-stake decision, certainly not for judging schools, certainly not, and least of all for judging students and teachers. And I think we need to be I think we need to say that repeatedly and loudly that we expect that, that it's the testing that, really it's the testing that should be on trial, right? And not the schools in this context, because we are it's just we run the risk of all of the benefits that we're getting in terms of what's good for kids. I think most educators, if they looked at the only two sets of standards we have to deal with are the old, right, the No Child Left Behind standards and the Common Core state standards, right? And I think most educators would say, I'd rather do the Common Core standards because they provide more flexibility, more key things that we want kids to have in their repertoire, and better prepare them for their future. And no standard is perfect, but the thing that's going to defeat this whole effort, if we're not careful, is this testing, and I think we need to have people prepared for that.
Any other comments on it? Very enlightening to me personally. I was just curious. I'm thinking, the high school. Why is there a gap between? Why is there no testing freshman and sophomore year? Is there a reason for that? It goes from 8 to 11. Is there?
I think it's in response to the concern that we over-test.
Okay.
And most states don't test as much as California, so I think this was a compromise in that.
Okay, and then I just wonder about the dynamic, how this will affect, the College Board. The SATs test a certain way, the ACT test a certain way, and it'll be interesting to see how this all pans out.
Yeah, we could easily face the circumstances where our kids do better each year on ACT and SAT than they did the year before, and at the same time, the state's testing is saying we've gone from this many kids succeeding to this many kids succeeding. Those two things are not compatible, and we need to, instead of using them as, if we say it later, people will say, well, that's the excuse you're making for having done so badly on the test. We need to say it up front that this is what's going to happen, and if you watch these other measures, you're going to see that in fact our schools are continuing to improve.
Well, and also the SAT is being redesigned to be more compatible with this, and it will be new. They'll be testing differently starting in 2016.
Yeah. By the way, China, we have people complaining about the AP US history test as being not patriotic enough. And we now have the Chinese government complaining that the SAT is becoming too American-centric because they're going to make them read the Declaration of Independence or portions of it and take the answer from the context. It's very interesting.
When this topic came up about testing in 11th grade in Sacramento, I voiced very strongly that I think it's cruel and unusual punishment to take kids at the end of 11th grade after that high stakes SAT, AP, IB, and then do this to them. To me, it's unconscionable. are we still having the high school exit exam?
For now, yes, but that's
10th grade.
well, it starts the first time you can take it is in 10th grade. There's some discussion about having the 11th grade summative test pass as the California high school exit exam. That'll be interesting to see if that happens, but yes.
And what is our current, the parent opt-out policy?
As in the past, parents do have the right to opt out of testing, and the district has a mandate to have 93 or above % participation. So
93% or above?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens if you fall below that?
Sharon tells me it's 95%.
95. And if you fall below 95, what happens?
I don't know. We've never done that, so.
No, not us. I just wondered.
You probably don't make your AYP.
Right.
I'm extremely concerned about this testing. I feel like a sense of, Kathy, you're always so positive. I feel like a sense of impending doom with this. It's just so complicated and complex, and the computer side of it and the split screens, and I mean, I can barely follow it. And the second piece of it that I'm really skeptical about is the writing. You know, that SAT writing is, the college admissions people are so skeptical of it because they've now thrown it out. I mean, there's no reward whatsoever in that for creativity. I assume this will be the same thing. So if you have a zany creative writer, they'll probably flunk. I'm so concerned, and I commend you for moving forward with a positive attitude. And that's all we can do, but and then to come out with scores, you know, with 35% proficient, what is that going to communicate? I mean, to Lynn's point.
I think this is at least one way to think about it. One way I think about it is we have to take these assessments and we have to help our teachers understand that the most important thing is strong teaching and students learning. And so that's where we keep our focus. And as always in Tustin, we let the chips fall where they may in the assessment. We keep strong instruction in the classroom. So that's has to be our focus, and that will be our focus all along.
I think it's a little bit of, the easy soundbite is going to be, wow, nobody's proficient. Okay, that's going to be in the Orange County Register. But our soundbite has to be, look, the first test is a benchmark. Look how we improve every year. It's got to be something like that. It's got to be how many yards are we gaining every play, every season, every game, every academic year. And so I think that's what's got to be the message, is that we start somewhere and the kids are improving steadily. So,
and I have no doubt that our kids will improve, but this is so incredibly frustrating. It's frustrating for you trying to get everybody on board, because this is changing. Even though we have great teaching in our classrooms and our teachers do a great job, they've got to figure out other ways of doing it. And that may not be the best thing. I look at somebody like Mr. Farr at Tustin High School, who's, AP kids pass at 98 or 99%. Going in and telling a teacher like that you have to now change everything you're doing that is incredibly successful, and by the way, Mr. Farr is not the only teacher in our district, that's just one I'm acquainted with. Telling a teacher like that is so incredibly successful year after year after year, that's not good enough, that your kids aren't going to test well on a test, that's just insanity. We're going to frustrate our kids by this test because it's just all over the map. It's writing, it's pull down, it's highlight this, it's fill in the blanks here, it's find out, everything, find out which one doesn't make the cut and let everything else be marked as accurate. It's just, I would, as a board member and as a parent, I would rather know, does my kid know the material or not? And I think this way is not going to be a clear answer to that. And especially if the test is recalibrating based on what it senses the student level may be, you're no longer comparing apples to apples. You're comparing apples to oranges because essentially they didn't take the same test. And I just hope and hope and hope whatever we get back as a district and whatever feedback goes back to the teachers, I hope it's meaningful. I hope there will be some sort of guide that tells them, yeah, we didn't compare apples to apples, we compared apples to oranges, but this is what it means to you. I just think it's just all over the map, and it's just so sad that we're going down this road. Just, gosh, I don't know. It's frustrating.
And I think what Lynn mentioned earlier and what Kathy responded similarly is when you try to measure something that's more complex, then the test has to be more complex. And when the test is more complex, it makes much more room for errors and trials. And so I think what Kathy mentioned is, we're going to focus on good instruction. We want to focus on the content. We're not using the test scores to beat people up. We're going to look at the test scores and we're going to learn from them and see, how they can help us see if we can teach more effectively in certain areas. But I think Lynn said it exactly right, which is if you know something's going to be tough news in 6 months, start telling the story now.
I agree.
So that it's not an excuse, it's a planning ahead sort of a thing. So we have begun that, and as we make parent presentations, we talk about exactly what you said. Last year was an apple, this year's an orange. You can't compare the two. So when you get a score, it's how you did on this set of standards using this device or this measurement tool. It has nothing to do with whether or not you were proficient last year. And while that's a hard message, I think that the goal, because the content is good, the Common Core is good, measuring it is very, very complex. Yeah. And I think that's what we're seeing is smarter balance wrestling with that complexity.
Yeah.
When we were preparing or considering whether we should go and do what became Measure S, right, we did 2 community mailings, one that requested input and then one that gave a report later. And it seems to me this is at least as important as that. And maybe, I'm not saying do exactly those same things, but I'm saying, don't shy away from a community mailer as a part of the option, especially if it's something where maybe we want to ask people what do they consider the important measurements of the outcome of education for our local schools. And see how close we can come to giving them reports on not just this test, but on the broader set of things that they tell us they value. I don't know if that's the right answer exactly, but I think the point being that this is as deserving of resources such as that in communicating as the decision whether or not to go ahead with the bond.
The other cutting edge, the other part of the equation is just, somebody said it earlier. I'm glad I'm in the Tustin Unified School District. I think Kathy said that. I mean, if anybody can do it, we can do it. And obstacles are things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. And if there's anybody can make it work and deal with obstacles and adversities and still come out strong, that'll be us. So on to thank you very much for the presentation, Dr. Cordes. Thank you. Appreciate it. And let's see. The next part of the agenda is some public comments, I believe, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me see if I can read this person's name. Mr. Roger Cavagan.
I can't believe how tired you are since 3:30
We are tired. We've been working since 3:30. We're tired.
Since 2 o'clock.
2:30. I was making lunches at 5:15 a.m. I'm tired.
Wow, I bet. I'll try to be brief. Members of the board, President Laird, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. The one thing that's so refreshing to see is that you get it. You absolutely get it. You understand what the teachers are going through. You understand what the complexities of this whole Common Core thing is all about. And it's so refreshing to sit in that audience and hear that you understand what the teachers are going through. And time again, I kept hearing, We want to focus in on the teachers, focus in on quality instruction. And that's just so paramount to this whole Common Core thing, is to include the teachers in that, that survey. If we're going to do something, include all the stakeholders, including our CSEA staff, our support staff. All of those have integral parts within the educational system, and it's just so, so important. So thank you so much for getting it. All right. I was going to be brief because I see a lot of people fading.
You waited a long time to make your comments. You can just say as much as you want.
Okay.
Okay.
But I would like to congratulate Lynn Davis and Jonathan Abela for winning their re-election bid. That is just so fantastic that we are continuing that relationship with the Tustin Educators Association and with our board, and we look forward to many more years to working with you. With that being said, we sent out a reminder notice, save the date, and also I believe Dina sent out an email to you about the CTA-sponsored school board dinner on December the 1st. To this date, we only have one RSVP. In the interest of IBB training and that whole process of understanding each other, it would be really great to have more of our school board members in attendance for that night. So feel free to contact me, email me, or even to Dina. I'm sure she can send that on to me as well. That would be really great to have you there. In addition to that, Chuck Lewis has set up some additional IBB training dates for our new administrators to be trained in that process. We're also going to be including some teachers and some classified staff that have been newly assigned to their various roles to be also trained. So I appreciate the ongoing commitment of our district to do the IBB training process. And I'm just going to keep it short because I know we like short meetings. So thank you so very much for everything. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Cavigan. Appreciate it. Now, are there any public comments on anything either on the agenda or not on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, I'll move on to the next section, and that is the section concerning discussion action items. And the first order of business is there a motion for the establishment of an annual organizational meeting to be held on December 8th, 2014 at 6 p.m. as the day and time of the annual Organizational Board of Education meeting.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. This is just a meeting to set up the structure for 2015 in terms of the board and the positions board members will hold on the board. So it's a pretty routine vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it unanimously. Moving on to subsection B, single plans for student achievement 2014-15 school year. Is there a motion to approve these single plans for student achievement? These are plans set forth by all the campuses in the district.
So moved.
Seconded.
I just have a quick question.
You have a question?
How does that relate to the LCAP?
Is it an old artifact of something that
No. The template was updated to align with the LCAP, and we filled in the actions that the board took on the LCAP. We pre-populated student plans to reflect those so that they were communicated to the community.
I just wondered why we had to do these on top of everything else as well.
Okay. Any other further comments on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Okay, moving on to C. This is a rewriting of the qualifications for records technician. It is a revised jobs description for that occupation in the school district.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Has everybody read
quick question on this one. We don't have anybody in this position right now, right? Or do we?
Right now, the position is vacant, and so whenever that's happened, especially for a position of one, I believe we only have one person in that.
That's correct. We had a
I just want to, you're right. We're not like changing somebody's job on them in a way that they aren't able to perform. We're doing a completely new hire for this. Okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Subdivision D. Now, this is the resolution 1149, and Mr. Angelo's here present. Should I read this whole thing? Should I read it? Or
Up to you, Mr. President,
okay.
if you want to. Or not.
Subdivision D involves resolution 1149.14, and it is essentially, for lack of a better term, it's a reissuance, refinancing of bonds of the School Facilities Improvement District 2001, that was our Measure G. Pardon me, 2002, that was our Measure G. An issuance not to exceed $28 million, and it's under subdivision D of the discussion action items as set forth in the agenda. Is there a motion for this?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and thank you, Mr. Anslow, for being patient waiting here for this prime opportunity for you to tell us what's going on with this.
Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Franklin, members of staff, and members of the audience, my name is Robert Anslow. I'm a partner with Poway, Arneson, Wiles, and Giannone. We're your district bond counsel. Resolution 114914 would be to authorize a single series of general obligation refunding bonds for SFID 2002-1, approved back in 2002, to refund designated maturities of the Series B and Series C bonds issued by that SFID. The plan is to bring this to market in January of next year. You have a letter from RBC Capital Markets that discusses the current savings. That's not guaranteed given the market may move between now and then, but we hope it'll stay good enough to provide a significant level of savings. You have the resolution and the attached documents before you. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And Christina Long from RBC is here if you have any specific number questions.
Does anybody from the board have a question? There's quite a bit of material to read regarding this discussion action item. Francine?
Okay, I guess this is telling us that we will save $1.5 million.
That's at
Is that
today's
right?
numbers.
Okay, and this goes out to 2032?
The long end is out the same. We don't push the maturities any further than they already go.
already?
We don't push out past what the current bonds, the law doesn't allow us to do so.
Okay, so Measure G will be paid off by what year?
There's another series, I think there's a set of Series D bonds that go out maybe 1 or 2 years past that.
So sometime 2030?
I think it's in the ballpark of around 2034. Maybe Christina has that. Because there's a Series D that we're not refunding as part of this because we can't get to it efficiently.
The Series D matures in 2041.
2041 is when Series D essentially falls off the map. But if rates stay good, we'll probably be back to you in 2 or 3 years to try and refund Series D.
Okay, but we're not going out any farther.
So
That's
Okay,
wait, so it's earlier than that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I didn't think Measure G went
I
out
don't,
that
I don't know
far.
if this question is for you or for Tony, but, and maybe it's just that you haven't given them to us before, but I was surprised both to see the extensive set of county treasurer questions and it caused me to wonder if the person had actually knew anything of the history of Tustin's bond financing or if they had just come up with a generic list of questions to ask us. And do you have any light to shed on either of those
I've
questions?
attempted to ask that question, and I'm still waiting an answer, so I haven't heard anything. I think it's a combination of not maybe understanding Tustin, but also it's maybe given direction by others, whether it's the county board of supervisors or some other group that's
I think the grand jury report that came out in June of this year
Probably.
had a lot to do with that.
yeah. So regardless of whether it's Tustin or anything, they're painting us across in terms of.
When I had thought, because situation come up with Garden Grove, where the board had turned down theirs, and at that point it was said that only when the school districts had qualified statements or future statements that did the board of supervisors have to approve. Did that change, or what's
Now,
the deal?
The situation has always been that for new money bonds, the refunding bonds,
doesn't apply.
item D, do not have to go to the board of supervisors. New money bonds have, unless you do it through a strict government code competitive bid issuance, you've always had to go to the county and get some level of approval.
Okay.
So, and in that process, this is, I think, a new we're crossing some new territory in regards to what they're requesting, and we're trying to still figure that piece of it out with them as well. So we'll have to see how that kind of proceeds.
It seems very unlikely that they are familiar with how strong the financial position of Tustin Unified is. based on the questions that were asked.
Yeah.
I suspect that what you're
That was
dealing
my
with-
reaction when
I
I
think
read
what
the
you're dealing with
questions.
is a generic question list that the treasurer has decided to ask anybody doing a new money GO bond deal is.
If they had looked at what we actually are doing, probably one of the most conservative types of issuances you can do. I mean, there are no cabs. You know, the assumptions on the assessed valuations. Yeah, a little payback rate. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, and the question about, and the warning that we not go anywhere near our legal limit. Well, we're way below our legal limit.
Yeah.
Correct. I think it's, again, that generic, across the board, doesn't matter who you are, you're going to get that letter.
So, is the cost of issuance the difference between the gross savings and the present value? Was it 400,000?
I'll let Christina answer that.
No, what's the cost of issuance?
So,
Go ahead.
I have the estimated cost of issuance right now. It's still not finalized, but it's at 194,000.
Okay.
And the savings are, already take that into consideration. So this is not,
Net of the cost.
it's net of the
The
cost of issuance.
$1.5 million, okay. And then what does this come to in the, per thousand assessed value?
100,000.
So the estimated so if you look at the back page, you'll see that it kind of differs from year to year. For the first few years, it's a little bit lower, but once you get to the 125,000 annual, that's about $1 in savings per $100,000 of tax rate or
About $1.
of AV.
Okay.
Could you say that again? What was the last thing you said? About the savings?
It's about $1.
Okay.
Per 100,000 assessed valuation?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And this pushes the rate, per $100,000 is 30, what's the amount per?
The refunding only pushes the
The
rate
Oh,
for the
actually pushes it down.
down.
Down, right.
Correct.
We're talking about the refunding, correct. Not the next one, right?
Right, okay, yeah, so this is basically we're creating debt service savings by refinancing.
Reduction of the
Yeah, it's a
tax,
refi.
of the interest rate.
Yeah.
only.
Similar to refinancing a mortgage, you're
right.
just refinancing
Okay.
at a lower rate.
So, we're always
I
looking for that.
just want to say, when you take in consideration the savings versus the cost of issuance, there's no question. We
Yeah,
should do it. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And in the bigger picture, we're doing both issuances together in terms of financing to save dollars with regards to doing it just one time. So, in a lot of ways.
We issue
this is-
these together and there's a
It's-
cost savings?
It's going to
So
be, yeah.
we increase the efficiency of the cost of issuance. So like, for instance, you're only printing one book, so you're not
Right.
going to have two printer fees. The ratings are also, when you increase the size, they don't double it, so
Yeah.
you save on the Moody's ratings fees and the S&P rating fees as well, which
Okay.
add up.
Okay, so that will be subdivision E, but we're in front of the first one.
Correct.
Subdivision D. Is there any further question on this, this resolution 1149.14? All in favor of passing it, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it unanimously. Moving on to subdivision E, it's a similar type, well, it deals with deals with finances. It's resolution 11-50-14, resolution of this board to provide for the issuance of the Tustin Unified School District General Obligation Bond School Facilities Improvement District 2008-1, that's Measure L, an issuance of $20 million, not to exceed $20 million on that bond.
Which is the remainder of the
This is
authorization.
the final
Yeah,
issuance.
is that
So
the
moved.
it's the last
This is
20
it.
million?
The last issue of Measure L.
So moved.
Okay, so it's been moved by Ms. Cinto, second?
Second.
Okay, it's been seconded by Mr. Davis. Any questions or concerns about subdivision E, this
I
resolution?
wanted to ask the same thing, cost of issuance and
I'll let Christina answer that one.
cost per 100,000 assessed valuation.
So the cost of issuance that I mentioned earlier, was for both the refunding and the new money.
Oh, that's.
It's combined, that's what
that's
we're.
It's
very
the
good.
combined cost of
Okay.
issuance. Just as a reminder, so in 2008, the estimated tax rate was 2374. Due to the downturn, we had to go a little bit above that. But if you remember, when we issued Series C, we had long discussions with the board and the COC. We delayed the issuance. And in the end, the board and the district decided to issue all current interest bonds. So we went, it was estimated to go over the initial estimate by about $18, but save district taxpayers over $80 million over the life of the bonds. Due to improvements in AV, in 13-14, the district SFID 2008-1 grew 3.36%, and in 14-15 it grew 7.12%.
Wow.
We were estimating 0. So to be very conservative at the time.
We're at 10.
So after the issuance of Series D, we are still only estimated to exceed the original tax rate by about $13.76 for a maximum of $37.50.
Just as a bottom line, and remember we had this conversation, it was, you pay more now and overall pay less, and that was the decision to do that, because over the long haul, you're paying significantly less. So you were saying
We saved $80
$80
million.
million. So,
And there was, and then I also remember, I mean, this is like the culmination of another conversation about where we were going to take money out of other sources to use for Measure L projects, but we had to sell the bonds by a certain date to repay ourselves without, to avoid violating regulations of somebody, I forget,
Exactly.
IRS or whatever. Right.
Federal tax regulations.
Right. So this culminates, closes off both of those conversations in terms of for Measure L, in terms of both closing back out the loan we made ourselves, basically, and then also dealing with issuing his current interest bonds was the expressed desire of the COC.
Right. I think, as we mentioned, we've always tried to be very responsible with the public's money, and whenever there's an opportunity to save money, as we're doing with the refunding, we're taking that back to the board to lower the rates. So.
And then how long do these bonds go out? How many years?
So these go out 28 years.
Okay.
And they end with the prior series.
And so by limiting the maturities to less than 30 years and no capital appreciation bonds, all but one of the requirements of AB 182 will not apply to these bonds. The 4-to-1 repayment ratio still will. It applies to all GO bonds, but we'll be below 2-to-1 when we're done with the issuance.
Again, very, very conservative payback.
Okay. Well, my one comment is this is an opportunity to say thanks to the taxpayers again. This was the second big GO bond that they were willing to pass. It's a little bit painful to talk about right before the tax bill is due on December 10th, or at least it's delinquent after that. And so we know that people stepped up and made a sacrifice to make our schools better. And so again, a sincere appreciation to the electorate taxpayer for passing this. And so we're talking about utilizing the last $20 million of this bond. And any further discussions about it?
Well, I just wanted to point out our neighboring district, Orange, just had their Measure K campaign, which appears may have failed by less than 200 votes or in that range. But what I wanted to point out is the advertisement that appeared in the Foothill Century, which goes to many of our residents as well, that took similar sized houses in the El Medina attendance area and the Foothill attendance area, and pointed out that Foothill, the house value of the Foothill one was at least $100,000 higher, and attributed that in part or in good part to the quality of the schools we have. So if even that's even a modest fraction correct, people have more than gotten back the money that they've sacrificed by passing these bonds.
The other thing I want to compliment all of you who have worked
Yes,
on
thank
these
you very much.
is that
That's a lot of work.
at one time, we weren't sure we'd be able to issue the full 95
Correct.
million, and we are. So thank you to however you manage that. And
Yeah,
Thank you.
we do appreciate your professionalism.
That
We know
too.
there's a lot of hard work involved with
Yes,
this.
there is. Jocelyn, I would also say.
Yeah,
it's a lot of
Jocelyn,
work.
thank you very much too. Can you say thanks to Diana as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Jocelyn more than.
It's more than it's just Jocelyn?
only Jocelyn? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, thank you very much. Any other comments on this? Okay, so all in favor of passing this resolution 115014, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it unanimously. Moving on to the consent calendar, is there a motion to approve the entire consent calendar?
So moved.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the consent calendar, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to pupil personnel, that's first will be student number ending in 03, student number 03. Pursuant to the agenda, there's a stipulated expulsion. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion regarding the proposed action on this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it unanimously. Moving on to student 04, is there a motion to take action on this student? It's a suspension and a stipulated expulsion with conditions set forth in subdivision B, and pursuant to the what's set forth on the agenda. Is there a motion to approve this? And a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Nay.
Okay, there's one nay by Mr. Abelov, 4-1 on student 04. Student number ending in 05, is there a motion pursuant to the agenda to approve this stipulated
So
expulsion?
moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on student 05? All in favor of approving the stipulated expulsion, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it unanimously. Board member comments. Are there any comments?
I have some before you get to the big ones. I just want to share a little bit with staff, and I wanted to share with the board that I had the fortune to meet with 3 of the academics who are actually speaking at OCDE tonight at the Common Core debate, I guess it is. And it was interesting. These are academics, and it's Zev Warman, Sandra Stotsky, and Professor Milgren, who is, they are, have been opponents of Common Core. And for the first time, I understood from an academic standpoint what the concerns were. I have some paper, a couple of handouts for everybody. The easiest to address is the English language arts, and there's some other things listed on here, but the primary concern of Dr. Stotsky is, and she's quite renowned, she was on several boards or at several state commissions back east, and she's a professor, I think, at the University of Arkansas. But it's having a literature-rich English curriculum, and that's really the fundamental concern. I think there was a concern in the English, in that community of English professors, that not enough English teachers were involved in developing the standards. Kathy's assured me that there were in California, but she recommended that we ask our English teachers. She said they will know better whether you're really giving a rich diversity of literature, and the concern is there's too much text, expository text reading as opposed to literature. And so I think that's worth asking, whether our classrooms feel like. She gave us an example that and she's written a book that will get you copies of it, The Death and Resurrection of a Coherent Literature Curriculum. But she gave us an example if there's just one Shakespeare play in the standard, but you need the context, like what English literature was there before, what happened after Shakespeare. And her concern is that the literature's been so pared down that they get pieces of literature in isolation and not in the historical context. So I thought it would be worth asking our staff to have a discussion with our English teachers whether they feel we do in fact have a full amount of literature. Mrs. Nielsen assures me that briefly that we haven't been dictatorial with our English teachers, and so they're able to bring in different kinds of literature. But I think it's a legitimate question, and it's to me it's at the core of the questions about the English ELA side of Common Core. So that's the easy one. The other side of it is math, and that is a long-standing argument about whether you teach Algebra 1 in 9th grade or 8th grade. And this concern was argued in Stanford and Palo Alto by all the Stanford professors when they were doing the 97 standards. It's an age-old concern. Zev, you'll be getting a copy of this, but not here. The concerns in math are multifaceted. There's a feeling, you've seen the cognitive guided instruction, where kids are figuring out different ways to solve a problem. Well, there's some concern in this group that we're confusing kids, and the standards are taking too long, and that you should teach kids, this is Milgram, like one way to do things, and then they learn it, and, that we're confusing them. Now, I personally, they showed an example of a grade 1 standard, finding different ways to decompose a number, and I think it's cool. I like the idea of really making kids think about different ways of solving a problem, but it's a concern. Of what was brought up, what I was most concerned about, of course, is this backing down on Algebra 1 in 8th grade. And Zev Werman has charts in here that reflect, and I will ask Dina to make copies for you, that reflect my concerns about Tustin Unified, which is we had such success in proficiency in Algebra 1 among some of our some of our really significant subgroups. And that, my concern is that we backpedal in that subgroup, but then, where we have very aggressive parents who are very concerned about math, and other parts of the district, we don't backpedal. So who suffers? It's the kids who have ability and possibilities, and then it's the bigotry of low expectations. That's what I fear. And he shows a lot of examples in here that would be similar in Tustin, where we had this huge success with Hispanic kids taking Algebra 1 in 8th grade. That happened right here, and it happened across the state. And so I hope, I guess all I can ask of that is let's really watch what's happening. How many Latino kids were taking Algebra 1 before, how many now, and yes, it's a different course, but remember, it all ends up at the same place, which is pre-calculus. So no matter how those courses have changed, it still goes to pre-calc. And I just am very concerned that we don't underestimate what our students are able to do. And so I just want to share that with you, because it's the first time that so much of the opposition to Common Core that we've heard is sort of been I was always unable to understand what it really was about, and it always seemed like there were peripheral issues that weren't really issues. This is the first time I really got, from an academic standpoint, from serious academics. Zev Werman was on the California Commission. He was the dissenting vote. So. And it's all about algebra. For him, it's all about Algebra 1 in 8th grade. This is related to my concern about our current situation where we have, in order to take Algebra 2 by 9th grade, you have to take geometry in the summer, when that has not been the case for the last however many years. And he was very impressed that we had Algebra 1 in 8th grade, and we'd consolidated and accelerated 6th and 7th grade math for that cohort of students. So we thought we were doing that right. But in order to get the cohort that we always had, which was Algebra 1 in 7th grade, you need to start the acceleration in elementary school. You need to start it in 4th and 5th grade. And that is, in fact, what we used to do. Mr. Bowling's class at Arroyo, there you had the old 6th grade math book in 5th grade, which is probably not the best way to do it, but it worked. And so I hope that we continue to look at that as we move down the road. And my biggest concern is that we don't end up with the district bifurcated, where some areas kids are taking Algebra 1 in 8th grade and other places they're not, and that we have high expectations across the district. And I'll give you copies.
Thank you, Francine.
You're welcome. And that saved you. You didn't have to go to the OCDE. But I was honored that they came. I bought them sandwiches because a parent from Tustin from Tustin Unified, who is very concerned about Common Core, had contacted me, and she asked me to go to Yorba Linda, and I couldn't, and so she said, well, we'll come to you, and I was so flabbergasted that I said, well, I'll get sandwiches if you're coming at lunchtime. So anyway.
All right, thank you, Francine. Tammy?
I've got a couple of items on behalf of ROP. Thank you for passing our new joint powers agreement. This has established a base funding level as the maintenance of effort agreement is getting ready to sunset at the end of this school year. So, and thank you to the staff for taking a look at what was sent to us and modifying it and making it better. I think we were the only district that had any input or changes on the document, but all of the other 4 districts agreed with what you submitted. So thank you very much for that. And this will ensure that we have ROP at some level going on into the future, which is critical, in my opinion. And while I was at our last ROP meeting, Darlene was sharing with us that ROP and our lobbyists are working on some bills in Sacramento that they feel like have a pretty good chance of passing now. And those bills, they're kind of attacking it from different angles, would monetarily benefit districts that are offering career and technical education. So that would be great. I mean, there's going to be a lot of discussion up there, but if, some other type of funding either supplements a JPA or is in lieu of a JPA or whatever ends up happening, but that was good news that there might be a little bit of movement on that. And lastly, this is kind of, I don't do this too often, but this is kind of my public service announcement. Jonathan had one several weeks ago. I saw in the Register on Sunday about the Assistance League in Tustin, and they're going to be celebrating their 50th anniversary in 2015. And it talked about all of the things that they do, and it was a great reminder to me of every way they contribute to the students in our district with the dental clinics and the school supplies and the drug awareness programs that they're involved in. So my public service announcement is if you have time, talent, or treasure and are looking for somewhere to leave any of that, you'll consider the Assistance League, as they do so very much, and they operate, kind of behind the scenes, but they are one of the driving forces in our district that really does a lot for our students. That's it.
In partial response to the concern that Francine expressed about the literature, there's a statistician joke that goes, all Indians walk single file, at least the one I saw did. So I can share one example of one 10th grade honors English class and tell you what they've done with the idea of doing the expository reading is they've made the independent reading assignments expository reading and gave a list of books by authors like Malcolm Gladwell and Daniel Pink and other people who you would recognize as people whose books created important conversations in our society, and they're supposed to read them and discuss, using the text, discuss whether they agree or disagree with whether the authors proved their premise and things like that. So, and the literature aspects then have, as best I can tell, have been left to what they've been in the past, except for changing this. So that's just one example of one teacher's solution. I attended the college and career fair the day before the election on November 3rd. It was at Tustin High School. And what was really great is we had some important institutions in our community that had multiple tables. Coastline ROP had 2 tables, Coastline Community College District had 2 tables because they needed 2 tables. One for the academic side for people who want to go there and get an AA degree and go on to a 4-year college, and one for the career tech side, and talking about the things that you could do just with, and including things you may not think of as career tech in terms of accounting and bookkeeping and things like that. And they were the least. We had Saddleback, I don't know how many tables they had. I stopped counting. Irvine Valley College had several. And so we had at least 3 rows of tables for career tech in addition to all the traditional, the military academies, the colleges, the public universities, the private schools. And it looked in the seminars that we have in financial aid and planning for college. So it looked very successful, very well set up. The only thoughts I had is that some of them could have had better signage to better pull students in to see what they were doing, and only a few of them actually had sign-up sheets. And I think the career tech kids, unlike say the 4-year university kids, may need more active follow-up by these organizations. And last year there's another thing that comes up in April that was Youth Expo, and last year they repurposed Youth Expo at the fairgrounds in Orange County, and Vital Link took over about a third of the whole thing, and had just even way beyond what we could have done that one night. They had, for this weekend, a lot of hands-on opportunities, and these actually had college students coming in and showing what you do in career tech at IBC in this club versus that club, or Saddleback and Club A versus Club B. And so I'm hoping that as a follow-up too, that a lot of our students will be able to attend that. But it was a very well-run event on the 3rd, satisfying, or at least providing the opportunity for students to pursue a wide variety of interests, not simply four-year universities, although they were there in great numbers with great material, but also for shorter-term career opportunities as well.
Those were all excellent comments, and so with that, I'm going to close the meeting, and I'm going to adjourn in, yes. We do, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Abelov, it's just.
Could you make an extra lunch tonight?
It's just that my colleagues have been very verbose today. I thought we had all covered everything, but I guess I forgot about you. I forgot about you, Mr. Abelov. By the way, congratulations on your reelection.
Let it go, and,
Okay, Mr. Abelov.
I was going to speak to what Lynn did, because I was there. I rented a student, my own, and took her over there, which was good, because actually on starting that early and getting their parents to get them there so they could see, why am I doing all this every night? Because I think sometimes our students lose focus on the bigger picture of, why am I sitting here for 4 hours doing homework? To what end? But I thought it was very well run. I thought, mainly because it was spread out, because it was held in two different. Between the event center and then the gym. That helps so much in the flow of things. But not only did the colleges that were advertised come, it was nice to see there were several colleges that came that were not advertised as coming, which was good, because I heard a number of people, including us, there were one or two colleges that we were disappointed weren't going to be there. But it just seemed everybody was a lot more organized. I'm not just talking about the colleges, but it seemed like the students were as well. They knew they had a list of what colleges they wanted to go to. They had a sheet, like we did, of return address labels. So when the college representative said, well, here, you can fill this out, it was peeling off an address label and sticking it on the postcard and handing it right back to them. It's just those. Well, when you get there, you'll do that. But I just thought it was very well run all around, and it's something that we should never, ever stop doing. We should always try to make bigger. As Lynn pointed out, there were several tables by all of those institutions, which was great. Actually, when you first walked in, the ROP table was right there, which I thought was a really good placement for it right off the bat. Because if not, I think it would have gotten lost in all of the tables and everything. Because I know we had a question about one of the courses, and they were right there, and they even had the catalog for next year already. And so it was great, because I thought they were giving us a catalog from this year as an example, and I saw it said 2014-15, so we immediately turned to the one course that we were interested in and started asking questions about it. So anyway, I was going to say I was there. I thought it ran great. It had more meaning for us this year, and I guess we'll go. Well, we may or may not be there next year. Who knows? Hopefully not, to a certain degree.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Abelov. Thank you, colleagues. And again, congratulations to Mr. Abelov and Mr. Davis on their re-elections. I am going to appreciate working with you the next 2 years. And I'm going to close the meeting in honor of a principal that worked was a principal at Foothill High School. I believe I remember him when I was a kid. I had two older brothers that went to Foothill. And I believe they had this gentleman as a principal, and that is Mr. Dwight McCracken. I'm moving to adjourn the meeting in memory of retired Foothill High School principal Dwight McCracken. And so with that, is there
Second.
Okay, there has been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Good night. Thank you.